The newest episode of Survivor 48 was very satisfying, and I am officially a happy camper after this one, boys and girls. But anyways, let's go over this episode, shall we? And the episode starts off with Mitch giving Shihan a hug, cause Shihan is super sad, even though he got a single vote. Like, bro, get over it, buddy. And Mr. Shihan is super confused as to why Chrissy, out of all of the behinds to target, she would want to target his buttocks. And then Shihan says, I don't think it was unanimous in their hearts, it was unanimous on paper. What the heck, Shihan? You hitting us with freaking Disney villain quotes now, buddy? Also, I think this vote broke Camilla de Killa, because now all she can say is yeah, 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 yeah. And then David the Doofus, Mr. Honor and Integrity himself, tells Camilla the reason he threw out her name is because he was worried that Chrissy was going to play her shot in the dark. That's not true, buddy. And then Camilla de Killa hits David with a freaking stare that looks like she's going to leap onto him, bite his neck, and suck his blood. And then Camilla says David is absolutely dead to her because he is a really big hypocrite and a poopy whoopy. And then Camilla says that David should join the Olympics. Let's not give him any freaking ideas, Camilla. And then David says that Kyle has been scaring him lately. What do you mean by that, pal? Holy moly, guys, Swagbird is back. I repeat, Swagbird is back. At this point, Mr. Swag is more important to the story than Star and Mary. And then we head to the Six, not picking up sticks. Now they just sitting on the bench, bar. And then Eva Weeva says she's happy that Chrissy went home cause it's a better vibe around camp. What the heck does that even mean, bro? And then Eva asks, well, who should we target next? And then David's like, we're gonna freaking vote Camilla or else I'm gonna murder you all in your sleep. And then Kyle's like, wow, I can't believe this guy just freaking threatened murder and somehow I'm the one scaring him. And then Kyle says that David has a new number one in Mary, which really shocked me. Because I just thought Mary was like a freaking cardboard cutout following David around because she freaking has no content in the existence of this freaking... And then Kyle says he no longer trusts David because he freaking tried to pressure him into voting out Camilla, his number one ally. And then Kyle's like, yo, my Persian brother, the reason they want to take out Camilla is to weaken us both because we're close to her. And he's like, I knew it. And then Kyle says that Mary is trying to take her spot. Also, how the flip did Mary get in this like dude bro strong alliance? What the heck, brother? And then Shihan says exactly what Kyle says, but in a more boring way because it's Shihan. And then everyone is looking at the beautiful sunrise. But then David realized that Shihan and Kyle want to talk. Talking in Survivor? Are you kidding me? That's not allowed. And then David is mega worried that Shihan and Kyle are gonna flip, and then says that there's a giant flashing neon sign that says they're working together. Yeah, obviously, David, they're in your freaking alliance, brother. Guys, I have this sneaking suspicion that two people that are in my alliance with me might be working together. And then David and Mary are like, Eva, Kyle, and Sheehan are gonna flip. Do you hear me? They're gonna flip. And then Eva's like, why are these bozos being so paranoid? Like, cool your jets, pal. And then there's this really funny scene between Shihan and David where he goes to pat him on the shoulder, but like he does it really hard for some reason.
I mean, yeah, just checking.
And then Eva says she wants all of her friends to be friends. Now listen, Eva, I love you, but that's not Survivor. If you wanted to make friends, freaking join up for a friend making service. I don't freaking know what I'm saying. And then there was this scene between Kyle and David, and oh my goodness, this was perhaps the hardest scene in the whole episode to get through because David just comes off across as so freaking obnoxious, brother. And then Eva's just like, can you guys please just stop fighting? And then Kyle says he's had a lot of dealings with confrontational people in real life because he used to be a professional boxer. And then we head to nighttime, and it's time for Eva to try to retrieve her advantage from last episode. And Eva says she waits for all the conversation to die down, and it gets dark, and she thinks she can go now. And then Eva says she doesn't think anyone sees her leave camp. Oh, but how wrong you are, Eva, because if you see, there's actually a shadow figure in the background, and that shadow figure turns out to be Shihan. Oh, yeah, and the Prince of Persia knows exactly what Eva's doing. She's going to try to get an advantage. And then Shihan wakes up Joe and is like, Joe, yo, Eva is gone, dude. And then Joe's like, Eva? I don't freaking care, bro. And then Eva walks up to this thing and pretty much it says she immediately has an extra vote, but she can risk that extra vote in order to get a safety without power, and she does, and she gets the safety without power, and then she leaves. And then Eva hops back in her hammock like nothing happened, but Shihan knows that something did indeed happen. And then Eva immediately tells Kyle, Joe, and Shihan everything that happened last night. And then Joe's like, yep, that's my alliance partner right there. And then Shihan's like, you know what, Eva actually telling us this, it actually solidifies trust. And then the Disney Channel background character Mary comes out of nowhere and they immediately change the subject because they don't trust her. And then Kyle goes and tells Camilla about Eva's advantage. And I was watching this episode with my mom and she called Kyle a snake for doing this. And then Kyle says that no one understands how good he and Camilla are at this game. And I think that's a lie. I think Thomas actually understands. And then Kyle tries to tell Joe that he's worried about Mary and David, but then David, appears. And then David says they're supposed to have this strong guy alliance moving forward. What? I'm sorry, I didn't know that Eve and Mary were guys. And then David tells Joe that he went back on his word, which seems to be like the absolute worst thing to freaking say to Joe. And instead of just saying sorry to Joe, he doesn't just freaking double down, he like quadruples down. And then Star says she wishes she could swim freely like everyone else. And then Star says she can't swim that well. We are breaking no freaking stereotypes with this one, bro. And then Mitch is trying to teach Star how to swim, and this is the absolute best scene of the entire episode, bro. And then Mitch says he's trying to work on a relationship with Star, even though he absolutely bamboozled her and sabotaged her vote last episode. And then Star faces her fear and hops in the water and does a little bit of a swim. Can we get some absolute W's in the comments for Star? Thank you. And then Star says she's gonna take some swimming lessons, and next time Jeff calls, she's gonna be a pro. And then Kyle wanted to sit Joe down and explain to him the reason he's been kind of antsy around David lately is because of his childhood and youth. And like, am I the only reason that kind of like doesn't understand how this has like anything to do with David? Like he said when he was in law school, he went to jail for possession of alcohol while still underage. Like what the freak does that have to do with David? I will say though, like the monologue that Kyle did where like he's still put in the work even though he was in prison was a pretty epic moment. And then Joey-O says he indeed does not enjoy working with doofus David. And then Joe talks to Eva about how David and Mary are kind of sus. And then Eva goes, sus, I don't even play Among Us. And then we head into the immunity challenge. And for this challenge, you have to hold onto this thing and push up and not let your ball drop, because if it drops you out, if you step down, you out. Got it, good. I feel like it's pretty freaking obvious that David should win this challenge. And 2 seconds into the challenge, Star drops her ball. Man, Star, if only you practice holding up balls instead of swimming. And then Mary also drops, but like who cares though, it's freaking Mary. And then Camilla Dakilla also drops. And then Mitch drops, and he's pretty sad because he's the only person to not go on a food reward yet. And then Eva drops because she's not used to games with balls, she usually plays with pucks instead. And then Shihan hits a freaking Mr. Miyagi type pose, but I guess bro forgot to wax on and walks off because he lost the challenge anyways. And then Kyle falls off the platform and is out. By the way, why the heck was Jeff so mean to Kyle?
Kyle, you're off. You stepped off. You're out.
Jeff, we know you're racist, but can like you hide it a little bit better? This is outrageous. And then Joe almost falls off, but he's able to keep his balance. And by some miracle, David loses his balance and accidentally puts his foot off the platform. And then David says, actually Jeff, I should have won that challenge because I had a lot left in the tank. Well, then maybe don't lose your balance, bozo. And then Jeff tells Joe that he also has the food reward and picks someone to eat it with him. And Joe immediately goes, I pick Mitch. And Mitch immediately starts crying and probably crapping his pants out of excitement. And Joe also picks Shiheen, and Eva to go on the reward with him. And then Joe does a killer impersonation of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then we get back to camp, and for some reason Mary's burping David like he's a baby. What is happening? And then Kyle says that Mary and David are giving off very big couple vibes. I would go with more like mom and baby vibes, if I'm being honest. And then Mary and David are very scared that Sheehan has an idol and that he'll play it for Camilla, so they're gonna take out Mitch. And then for some reason Mary starts kissing the air. Mary, what the heck is wrong with you, buddy? And then Star walks up and is like, hey guys, wanna vote out Sheehan? And like, shut the freak up, Star, you moron! Oh, we're never gonna vote with you ever, you idiot. And then we head to the people on reward. And then Mitch says that he 1000% wants David to go home. And then Sheehan has what we in the industry refer to as a boretage, a boring montage. And then for some reason, David goes up to Eva and starts dogging on Joe. Like, bro, that's her number one, you know that, right? And then we head into the tribal council, and David gets absolutely blindsided and bamboozled, and I am so happy, hallelujah. And Jeff uses the turtle shell to snuff David's torch. Well guys, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to smack that like button and subscribe, and comment down below what you thought of the episode, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.
Subscribe or boost will be very sad, and feed us the stinkers will be make it glad. And make sure to comment about how much Survivor sucks, and about how Liz loves Applebee's even though it's butt. And hit the notification bell, because if you don't, like you says, it will be a big mistake. And David the doofus will throw milk in your face, and then Stinky Sue will take a poo all over your shoes. Oh, oh, oh.
Hey everybody, this is Bruce here for season 45 Survivor. Now, I, Bruce, the greatest Survivor player to ever exist, demand that all of you subscribe to Meme View, that's Meme View, and hit the like button, or if you don't, you end up like me on season 44, alright? You don't want that, do you? Peace!